In this video, I'm going to try to tackle one of the most common questions I get. So I'm Daniel Norton, photographer here in New York, and welcome to my studio. Today we're going to look at 3 types of lights and try to answer the question of, can I do this with? Which I get all the time. Whenever I'm doing a demo, I'm using a certain piece of equipment and there's always a question. Well, could I do it with? What if you only had this? Whatever. And normally the answer is, well, if you understand light, you probably could get something close. I mean, there's a reason why I'm using each piece of equipment, obviously, but in a pinch, if you're trying to create a certain look, you certainly can use what you've got. You know, I always say that. But what I'm going to do is, the approach here is I'm going to actually look at 3 types of lights and talk to you about why I would use each one, and we'll go from there. First thing we're going to talk about is what I think should be the first tool that most of you should have, which is a small flash or on-camera flash. Okay, so on camera, right? Kind of in the name. Small flash, on-camera flash. You see people using these a lot. Sometimes they're referred to as strobus, based on the strobus plug, which is pretty awesome if you guys want to check that out. And the idea here is that these flashes are really convenient and small, and a lot of times, especially early on when battery-powered flash was not as available, people would use these small flashes essentially in place of studio strobes when they needed to. Places where you could put them that you couldn't put a large strobe or couldn't run power to. But that's not the primary use of them in my mind. The primary use, although you see me do videos with them, is on camera or the like. The idea with this flash is that it fits in my bag. It's not really any bigger than a lens. I can always keep one with me. This is the flash I always have. Benefits: fits on the camera. You don't need anything else. Quick light when you need it. Typically TTL, which is an automatic exposure mode, which makes it really convenient if you need to get the shot, boom, you know, you're doing events, you're doing photojournalism, that kind of stuff. Really, really convenient. You'll always have it. Yes, you can take them off camera and you can do other things with them, and we've done plenty of videos like that. Downside: typically less power. And many, many models do not have what this one has, which is a nice lithium battery on it, which means that you're running into issues with AA batteries. You know, they don't last as long, they're slow, so your recycle on this is not going to be tremendously fast. They're not powerful compared to studio flash, which we'll talk about in a second. So if I'm setting up a studio shot to do a bunch of fashion full-length shots, and I have my option of using this or the other kind of flash, I'm going to use the other, because this is not ideal for that. If this is the only thing I have, or I have to travel really light, can I get away with it? Yeah, absolutely, and I can make it work, and like I said, we've done that in plenty of videos. Why would I grab this? I throw it in my bag when I'm traveling, and I don't think I need light. I'll say it again. I bring it with me when I don't think I need light. That is, if I know I'm going to light something, I will bring other lights, unless I absolutely can't. This is the flash I have so that if I get someplace and I need a light source and I don't have one, I've always got it with me. So small flash, portable, convenient, automatic, great tool to have. Now let's look at studio flash. I am purposefully using this flash as my demonstration point, because look at how small it is. This kind of is the example that kind of makes my point of what I said about the small flash. Nowadays, battery-powered studio flash is very, very small, which means, again, if you were building a small kit to take with you, a bunch of speedlight type flashes is probably not the best investment necessarily, because you really only need to put one on your camera. I mean, I say that as I look over at my bag full of 4 of them, but this didn't exist when I got mine. So something like this is a ProPhoto B10. This is a very, low-powered, relatively speaking, studio flash. 250 watt seconds. They make 500 watt second, 1,000 watt second, etc. Studio flash, though, is way more powerful, right? More powerful than your on-camera flash, and can handle bigger modifiers, right? Can recycle faster. Many of them have more powerful, what they call modeling lights, which is a constant light. In the case of the ProPhoto B10, it's by color, so you can actually use it to match the ambient light in the space if you want to use it as like a video light or a fill that way. So small flash like studio flash like this are great. If I'm going to shoot a portrait on location and I can't take a lot of gear with me, something like this is good. If I'm going to shoot in my studio, I use my B1Xs, which you've probably seen me use a bunch of times, which are 500 watt seconds. It's always better to have more power than less, I say, in photography. So for me, this is ideal if I know I'm going to need light. I'm going someplace to make portraits, to make photos. Studio, I'm calling it studio flash, but big flash, however you want to say it, is key for that. So I'm a photographer that wants to light things. Big flash. More modifiers available for them. They can be battery powered like this one. They can be AC powered so you can shoot all day. They recycle faster. They're more powerful. They're just all around more of a pro tool in that sense. So that's why you want these guys. Now though, let's take a look. I mean, this could be any brand, of course. Now let's take a quick look at constant lights. Okay, let's talk constant light. Now for me, I'm typically using a constant light when I need to do something that my flash doesn't readily do. In other words, if I'm going to use a softbox to make a portrait, I don't typically reach for a constant light, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Typically speaking, a constant light is going to be less powerful than a flash, which means that if you are in a space like this one that's bright, this light is not going to be able to overpower the light in the space. It's useful as a fill, it's useful for an accent, it's not going to be able to remove the light. And if I'm simply putting it in a softbox, I would rather have the ability to do that, okay? We've talked about that in a lot of other videos. I'm not going to get into the technical of it, but just know the constant lights in general are way less powerful than flash. So why would I use a constant light? Well, typically your constant light is going to be more of a, what you see is what you get, right? I can shine this on somebody, I can see it, so if you're learning, sometimes that's easier for you. But also more specifically, they do things that the flashes, in my opinion, don't do really well, especially this one, stuff from Data Light, where they have spherical lenses on the front, or if you get like a Fresnel lens from like an Arri-Light, these create a different style of light, a different look. It's hard light, but it's got really smooth transitions. It's used barn doors really effectively. You can put projectors on them to throw patterns really simply and relatively inexpensive. I mean, this is not an inexpensive light per se, but to do the same thing that you could do with this with a flash would be even more expensive. So in the scheme of things, less expensive for that. But more specifically, does the thing that you can't do with flash. Now, you might ask me, and I'm sure you will, well, I want to learn, it's simpler for me if I can, what you see is what you get, so should I just get, or would it be okay to get some kind of an LED panel or whatever that goes with a softbox? Sure, I mean, if you feel like that's better for you, because that is one advantage, right? What you see is what you get. For me, if you are a photographer, that is, you don't plan on doing video as well, I think the learning curve to learn flash is worth it. So for me, if you're starting to light and you know you're doing photography and not video, I would lean towards flash even though you kind of might feel more comfortable with the what you see is what you get. The reality is that with TTL, which is through the lens metering on flash that's available on most of the brands now, it's pretty simple to shoot with flash. It does require a little bit more understanding, it does require a little more work, but in the end, the flash is going to have so many benefits for a stills photographer. But when you want something special, something unique, something a little bit different, something like this Data Light is a great option. So hopefully that was helpful, guys. Essentially, we're looking at three things, right? We're looking at small flash, which is portable, keep it with you all the time, but maybe not that powerful. Big flash, as we'll call it, powerful, but maybe a little bit more bulky. And then we're looking at constant light, which is very specific and very useful for certain kinds of shots. If you have more questions about these, which I'm sure you do, go ahead and put them in the comments and we'll talk about it. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you get the notifications. And I'll see you next time. It typically is because I want something that does something that my flash, sorry, it's very jingly.